Oh boy. Well, so after we talk about a nice deserved win last night against St. Louis for the Philadelphia Flyers, they come back home against Montreal Canadiens and they look insanely flat. And they fall to a not so good team by a score of 4-1. They put 41 shots on Carey Price. He stops 40. It's Carey Price, so there's an excuse right there. But to come out so flat against a Montreal team, who is not that good, they are a 500 team. It's inexcusable, and you're at a time right now where you have to get points. And there's been a common theme, honestly, from season to season, but especially this season. So go back to the Western Conference road trip from after Christmas. You lose to two bad teams, San Jose, Los Angeles. And it turns into a whole disaster of a road trip. If you win those two games against San Jose and Los Angeles, the road trip turns out a little not as bad as it seems, and those losses to Vegas and Arizona don't seem as bad. And then you come back home from it. You could play just four really great games against top teams in the NHL, and then you come out tonight against a not so good team, and you look a little flat. So I don't want to say this is a case scenario of the Flyers play down to their opponent, depending on who the opponent is. They'll play up to the teams that are better than them, and they'll play down to the teams that are not as good as them. I don't want to say this is one of those moments, but it also could be one of those moments. And I also don't want to say it was a trap game. It could have been a trap game, but these are the types of games you have to win, because points, basically at this point of the season, really matter. You have to get the points no matter what. Because where we're at in the standings, points are basically all we need to stay alive. And with this loss, I think we're still tied for the second wildcard spot, but I think Columbus has an advantage over us. I think it's like a three-way tie or something like that for the wildcard spots between the Flyers, the Jackets, and the Hurricanes. And honestly, the Hurricanes today, they lost Dougie Hamilton to a very scary-looking injury, so who knows what may happen to them and how that affects them whatsoever. But Columbus, they just keep winning. They keep getting points, and look at all the subtractions that they made over the offseason, and they still are finding ways to win the games. The Flyers right now, they need to find ways to beat the teams that are not as good as them. Because you had Montreal today, you couldn't do it. You have Los Angeles on Saturday. You lost to them earlier in the month. You got to find a way to beat them. And then you're going to flip-flop on Tuesday against a team that is better than you in the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the schedule just doesn't get any easier. So you can't take the games against the lesser tier teams for granted. You got to take those games and go in and get points. Because it matters. And one of the things that does bother me about this game too is that the Flyers score first, but then they don't build off of it. They left Montreal just come directly right back, and Montreal scores 4 unanswered goals, and the Flyers kind of just look dead from there on out. You get Joel Farabee scoring the first goal after the whole situation where he had to get sent down for Alex Lyon. Then Chris Stewart gets put on waivers. He clears it, and he gets sent down to call Joel Farabee back up. So he gets a goal technically in his first game back in the lineup, so good for him. The fourth line getting some action right there. But then Montreal literally responds, I would say, not even 20 seconds later. It's Thomas Tatar, another player, once again, wide open in the middle of the ice in front of the goaltender, Alex Lyon. And he goes around to the left side, puts it past him, ties the game at 1 automatically. So the Flyers barely had a lead for not even, I would say, 20 seconds. So, and then you go into the second period, Montreal scores back-to-back goals like that early on. A penalty to Kevin Hayes, which it's kind of soft, but no matter what, you got to kill the penalty regardless. You can't keep complaining about penalties no matter how soft or how terrible they are. Yeah, they can be terrible, the refs can suck, but at the end of the day, you still got to kill off the penalty. And the Flyers did not do that. And it's Ilya Kovalchuk from a blast from the point from Shea Weber that I think it kind of deflects off of Nick Cousins in front of the net. I don't think Alex Lyon got a piece of this. And then off of that deflection, it goes right to the stick of Ilya Kovalchuk, and he puts it behind Alex Lyon for a 2-1 Montreal lead. And literally 9 seconds after that, Montreal gets a rush, and it's Arturi Lehkonen making it 3-1 Montreal. So just bing, bang, boom. Montreal, I would say, scores 3 goals in the span of not even maybe 4 minutes, possibly. So the Flyers kind of died for a little bit right there. And they didn't look good. And they get some power plays. The power play didn't look like it was clicking at all. Kevin Hayes, Claude Giroux, JVR, Travis Konechny. That power play unit did not look like they clicked whatsoever. Even the line combinations today, they just looked fatigued. They just looked tired. I can understand you went up through a very tough stretch against some really good teams. But it's still, you're playing a bad team. You got to find that extra gear to push to beat a bad team. This is honestly, like, I know, like they're 3-1 in their last 4 coming into tonight's game, and then now they're 3-2 in their last 5. But points, it's inexcusable not to get a point against a bad team, honestly. So they missed one tonight, and honestly, Alex Lyon, I'm not blaming him tonight, but he's no Carey Price. And yet Carey Price on the opposite side of the ice stopping 40 shots. And granted, some of the shots were dangerous, some of the shots were not. He was just scooping them right up and not coughing up any rebounds whatsoever. Alex Lyon on the other side, not saying I'm blaming him. There were moments where Alex Lyon gave up a couple of rebounds, but there were moments where he did make the save to keep the team within the game. He was doing that early on, but when the Flyers broke down defensively and Montreal poured it on, he wasn't able to make the stop. But I'm not blaming that on him tonight. I'm blaming it more on the offense not being able to put the puck past Carey Price. And I feel like when you're playing a goaltender like Carey Price, especially like tonight, from the way that he was making saves, he didn't make any spectacular saves. He was doing the job to get the job done, and he made it look easy. Didn't cough up any rebounds, like I said. But the way when you're a team and you see a goaltender just making saves and not coughing up anything, I feel like that made the Flyers kind of try a little too much, especially on the power plays, especially on their rushes. They try to find that perfect pass. They try to find that perfect redirection past him instead of just taking shot after shot after shot. Because, yeah, shots weren't working at that point, but just keep piling the shots on him. He's human. He's going to make a mistake. He is going to miss. Trying these perfect little tic-tac-toe plays, these perfect redirection plays, they're not going to work if you are not confident of putting a puck past Carey Price. It's just not going to work. So, you missed out on 2 points tonight. You got a game against the Los Angeles Kings on Saturday. And who knows who they're going to put in net on Saturday in Los Angeles. For the Flyers, you expect Brian Elliott. So, it's going to be Carey Price. It's going to be Campbell. Who knows? No, not Carey Price. Carey Price played tonight. Why am I saying that? Jonathan Quick. That's the name. If they put Jonathan Quick in, or Campbell, we made Jonathan Quick look like prime Jonathan Quick back in Los Angeles. So, maybe they'll put Jonathan Quick in the net. The Flyers got to find a way to score. They just got to find a way to come out strong against a bad team. LA is a worse team than Montreal. We all know this. They need to beat them because the schedule just doesn't get any easier than this. And like I said, they are now tied for that, a 3-way tie for the wild card spots with Columbus, with Carolina. And you got some teams, you got Boston beating Pittsburgh right now, even though that has really no correlation because the Flyers are not going to catch up to Pittsburgh whatsoever. It's just the situation right now with the schedule and the way we just need to get wins. We need to get wins desperately because you need to beat Los Angeles and you need to beat Pittsburgh. That is mandatory at this point. Go into the break because you got, I would say, 9 days off with the All-Star break included after this next game against Pittsburgh. And I honestly believe the Flyers really need this day off. They do. They need the day off. They need time away to regroup. But you still got 2 games to play at home where you arguably play your best hockey. But tonight you did not play your best hockey. You lost to a mediocre team You lost to Carey Price, basically. And who would have thought that Ilya Kovalchuk, even though he's still a good player, he was good when he went back to the KHL, and that whole situation with the Los Angeles Kings where it just didn't work out, and now he signs basically an NHL minimum contract with the Canadiens. He's playing on their first line, and he's producing. So basically, Marc Bergevin actually looks smart for a second bringing in Ilya Kovalchuk because he's actually producing for a team that's not that good. So, there you go right there. He puts 2 goals on the board tonight for Montreal. So, just like I said, you gotta find ways to win. Just gotta find ways to win, especially against a team like Los Angeles. Pittsburgh, yeah, that's more of a tougher task. But you gotta find ways to get points, because when you're stuck in the wild card spot, it's difficult. Points are all that matters. So, what are your thoughts on this game? What are your thoughts on the upcoming games against Los Angeles and Pittsburgh? What are your thoughts on the way they just played tonight in general? They just looked fatigued. They looked flat. So, don't forget to leave a comment in the comments section. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.